Hey guys, how's it going? I am the ConflictNerd. Hello and welcome back to Project Spark. Welcome back to Let's Build a World. Today we're going to be focusing on two things, that being expanding the town/village center, and we're also going to go ahead and start building our docks area, both of which are rather important. We're starting here by expanding the market stalls, getting ourselves 4 of them instead of the 1 that we had in the last episode, and you can see I've just copied and pasted them. That's basically because, well, there's 2 reasons actually. 1, I'm pretty lazy, and 2, in my mind, these stalls haven't just been set up. They're a thing that they're always there. So I like to imagine that the village leaders, the village people have got, not the band, but the village people have got about and said, you know what, let's put some proper stalls in here. And that's what this is. So this stall sells shards and pots, not singular, but pots, plural. And this one actually doesn't sell fruit at all. This one's going to go ahead and sell some of those emeraldy green gems right there, and a big old telescope, because I thought they kind of fit together. You know, this guy maybe uses his gems to read the stars or something like that. I don't know. At some point I'll put an NPC in there who has some crazy dialogue, but until then that stall doesn't make much sense. This one here is obviously a weapon stall. It sells swords and a crossbow, I believe, by the time we place everything. And again, this is a stall that will definitely have an NPC. Honestly, I think all of them will have NPCs, but this one will certainly have NPCs because, well, I just want him to say something cool. Something about weapons. I want to try and make an actual shop there, so that is something to aim towards. Next up, we are placing another Rustic Hall thing here, because we needed another building. We actually placed 2 more buildings in the town center here. This one honestly doesn't have a purpose. I built this and I wasn't sure what to do with it, so I kind of left it for a minute and then come over here. Now in the middle between these 2 stalls, I do toy around with some building ideas very briefly, then go back to that Rustic Hall on the left there. But what I imagine this being is actually the kind of merchants center, the place where all the merchants go to deal with their money and stuff like that. And I considered using this dormer as a kind of building because I thought it looked really cool, but then I realized, wait a minute, if I take this and just rotate it, I can set it on this rooftop and make this building look a little bit more unique. And honestly, I really like how it turned out. I thought it gave just a nice little bit more detail to this building and made it look different enough from the town hall to be worth it. Right here, we're going ahead and of course adding in the chimney stacks that I talked about in the last episode. And these are something that I will always add. I love having chimney stacks in buildings because I love the idea that someone could stand up high in this world and look out over it at night and see, just bear with me here, I'm imagining things. Just look out over it at night and see all these chimney stacks going and all the light from the torches and the buildings. I just want it to look really nice and homely and warm and appealing. That's what I want this world to be. It's obviously not a looming wasteland of death and despair. It's a pleasant market town that's on a weird island in the middle of nowhere, and it's about to get a dock, or well, I say that in a couple of minutes, it's going to get a dock. Before we do that, of course, we're going to go ahead here and add in all of the windows on this building. Again, using the same styles we had before with the round windows and the tall, thin windows. I honestly love this. I really do. I love that the Rustic Pack doesn't have anything that's necessarily straight. So when you're placing windows, you need to tilt them and rotate them, and that kind of lack of perfection gives buildings just that bit more character, and I love that. I really do. I think it just makes everything look a bit more silly and a bit more fun and a bit more appealing, in my opinion. I did consider adding a window on the end bit there, but it just didn't look right at all. I then considered using the strut here to make a support for the overhanging roof, but again, it just didn't work. So the next thing to do was, of course, go ahead with basically the cobblestone texture and just detail around the building to make it look like it has a bit of foundation going on there. And I think, I love this building. It's probably my favorite building, just because it's so simple but has so much character behind it, and I really, really love it. Now we're coming here to the kind of merchant, we'll call it the Merchant's Hall. We use the kind of rock stone hovel here because I didn't want to place another tower, and I didn't want to place another Rustic Hall because it would be identical to the building next to it. So we go ahead and use this because it's just got a silly bit of character to it, and it's nice. And that's kind of the basic thing with everything in the Rustic Pack and everything about this town. I want everything to just have that nice little appeal to it. I want you to walk through this, and I honestly, I want people to eventually walk through this little village, this little world, and not notice anything. And that might sound weird, but if you notice specific little things, then I've done my job wrong, because everything's meant to look like it belongs there. And if you look at something and go, I see that very clearly, I've done my job wrong. Anyway, what we're doing over here is actually going ahead and we're going to start developing the docks area. So in my mind, this world, this island has, well, this is the main entrance to it, basically. I was debating whether or not using this as the entrance side or the open bit already on the island. And at first, I was going to have this as an overhang here. You know, I was going to build it up a little bit, but I kind of thought about it, and honestly, I couldn't be bothered trying to make this look like a good overhang, so it was just a case of get rid of it, tear the edges a little bit, and then smooth them out. And I think it looks much better in the end because it just looks more open. It lets more light in, it makes it more distinct, you can see it easier, and there's no big looming shadow over things, so it just looks nice. Going ahead here and smoothing out the ocean floor, making it dip down a bit more, making it deeper because I didn't want it to just, you know, be a direct cut off there. It didn't make any sense. This world is very natural in my mind again. The people that will eventually live here haven't done any major mining or anything, so I want this to all be very natural. We're going to go ahead here and actually start making the little road that goes down to the docks, and I did this out of sand because I wanted it to look like the kind of grey, gravelly stone faded into sand. I don't think this is necessarily something they consider making a road. This is just a natural path with a little bit of grass around the trees, just for decoration, for a little bit more detail. And I actually really like that. I love how the grass around the trees looks. It just adds a little bit more character and a little bit more detail. And I know someone's going to be like, Conflict, you do nothing but talk about character and detail, but that's what this world is. It's just character. Now this right here is going to be the docks themselves. I use this because I can flip it upside down and make it look like there's actually some foundations going on there, which was a little bit of a problem because they don't match up perfectly. Remember what I was saying about the Rustic Pack not really being all that symmetrical and everything being a little bit weird? That applies to the base of them as well. This doesn't match up at all. It really annoyed me that it didn't match up, but that's fine. I go and use some logs to kind of hide it a little bit, and you'll see that it hides it a little bit better when we actually have the jetty, the docks, the platform that you'll walk on in place as well. It just looks that little bit better. And if you've ever seen any of my Project Spark building live streams, which I do very rarely, but I need to get back to, I have to apologize for that. Titanfall's taken up all of my life. Anyway, you will know that I build my docks using the rustic table. And there's a reason I use the rustic table, and we'll get to that in just a moment once we're done placing these logs. Any second now, actually. The reason I use the rustic table is because it has the legs on it, the metal bit that comes down for the feet of the table. You can use that as a really, really nice bit of detail on a jetty, because when you put the stilts in, it connects between them and makes it look like it's all connected together and actually supported, and that actually makes it look believable. And that's kind of the important thing. I'm gonna give you a little bit of advice here. If you're building in Project Spark, make things look believable, unless it's meant to look unbelievable and it's meant to look like it's this really weird fantasy setting. Make it look believable. Otherwise, it's going to be a little just weird looking. Now, I do go ahead here and once again use the Rustic Hall. Wasn't too keen on using this, but it was kind of the only thing that really fit the location. And I figured I could use the Rustic Hall and a couple of these just to give it a little bit of a weird look to it. And I think it works quite well, honestly. I think it's a nice little kooky looking building, and with a tall tower on it there, eventually I can go ahead and add some lights to it, and it can be almost a lighthouse, basically. Almost a lighthouse. Not quite a lighthouse, but almost a lighthouse. Again, coming back here with the tables to make the platform that you will use to get onto the jetty. This little bit of terrain does go ahead and change shortly. I bring it out to meet the platform because I wasn't really all that happy with how this looked. I thought it looked a little bit weird, and I guess this is sort of a bit that would be man-made. I guess this is a bit that the people would actually go ahead and, you know, they just maybe dump a little bit of sand in to build it up so they can actually get out to the jetty. And, I don't know, I think this looks really nice, in complete honesty. I think it's just a nice little walkway out to the jetty using the stone columns there. Just, I think it made it work. I really do. I think it's just a nice, it looks rustic, and that was kind of what was important for me. It needed to look fittingly used and worn. It shouldn't have looked like it was brand new. And that's what I really like about this. Nothing in this jetty, nothing in this world looks remotely brand new. And that's kind of cool, honestly. I'm a really big fan of the fact that nothing in the Rustic Pack looks like it is completely new and fresh and wonderful. Now, there was a cut there because my capture card decided to spaz out at the time of recording this, and I had to just start the recording again, but that was fine. Just adding in some torches here. I wasn't sure how to do them down on this main bit of jetty, so in the end I decided to just kind of stick it on the side there as if it was just the one torch lighting it up. As if you would, as if the old, let's say, lighthouse keeper would come out and pick up the torch and hold it just out above his eyes so he can try and see what's coming in towards the jetty at night. Something like that. I just thought it was a really nice idea, honestly, and I think it worked quite well. Just going ahead and adding some windows to the docks building here. I call it the docks. It's more of a little kind of port, I guess, but just adding some windows for that little bit of character that it needed. I was going to add some windows here, but I realized I needed a place for a door, so I had a little bit of trouble actually selecting that window there. But we do go ahead and add the door right here, and we end up putting a torch above that door, if I'm not mistaken. But before we do that, we just put the cobblestone around the building once again to give it that little bit of detail to make it look like, well, it's a building. There is something else I do. I use some other textures just to make it look like people have been walking about here. I don't want everything to be that completely perfect smooth sand, so I use a little bit of the grey just to make it look like people have been tracking down here and actually walking on it. It's not, well, it is kind of distinct, but it's not as distinct as the other roads by any stretch. There was a little bit of a problem though with these torches, and you will see that towards the end of the video. You can actually pick them up, and I didn't realize that at the time when I was placing all of these, and I have gone ahead and fixed it. You won't see it on camera, but the issue with the torches has been fixed, and well, here's everything, and we'll get to the torch thing in a second. That little bit of ramp there, that little bit of road will be smoothed out eventually, but this is everything we've done today. We have the market stalls, we have the building on the left there, we have the merchant hall right there, and I think it looks lovely. You can open this door, which is a little bit weird. I will need to fix that as well. But I think this whole, this little town, this little village, whatever we want to call it, I think it's coming along really, really well. I love it to bits. So we're going to go ahead here and run down to the docks area, the port, as I need to start calling it. And as you can see here, the path slowly transitions into sand. You've got your grass around the trees there, and you've got the grey that leads you to the docks building and down onto the jetty itself. And you can see there me learning the horror as you can pick this up. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for watching. I've been the ConflictNerd, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.